Well, Congress is in the middle of a raging debate right now with President-elect Donald Trump over raising the debt limit and government spending. Last night, Trump was on Capitol Hill meeting with Speaker Johnson about his legislative agenda. Many Republicans don't want to vote on the debt limit shoved inside of this larger bill that addresses everything from, immigration, tax cuts, energy policy, sending money to the Taliban. Yeah, we send $40 million a week to the Taliban. We'll get to that part of the story in a second. Someone who's never once in his life voted to increase America's debt limit is Congressman Tim Burchett from Tennessee, and he joins me now. Congressman, did I get that correct?
No, yeah, you're correct. It's myself and Andy Biggs out of Arizona, who's a good friend of mine. In the last 2 days, I think we've had 3 meetings on trying to work on a plan that maybe we could get there on. Yeah, and of course, all the freshmen haven't. But yeah, we have a responsibility. We all come home, both parties. The Democrats, they go to their Truman Day or whatever, Communist Manifesto Day or whatever they do, and have a dinner. And then the Republicans, we do our MAGA dinners and Reagan Day and Lincoln Day dinners and all that. And then we put out the red meat. It's usually just try to change the discourse. We'll talk about Pelosi and her stock trades when the reality is she's about in the middle of the top 100, and there's actually Republicans that have percentage-wise done a little better than her. But and we talk about that, and then we talk about how we're going to cut spending and all this. And then what do? We come back down here every time, wink and nod, cuss the opposition across the table, and then spend billions upon billions more dollars, now trillions. We add $1 trillion to our debt every 100 days. In 10 years, if at the rate we're going, we'll have a debt of over $60 trillion. In 4 years, interest on our loan will be the largest single item in the budget. Surpass our military. So it's insane. And yet we can't seem to get control of it because we don't want to. We're compromised.
And there's always names. I always hear the same names. I hear you. I hear Burchett. I hear Rand Paul. I hear Massey. Who do not want to do this. And time again, they try to shoehorn all of this into one big policy, one big package. And then you guys end up sounding like you guys are the bad guys. I see some people posting on social media. They're like, oh, we got Burchett in there. We got Massey. They're obstructing what Trump wants to do. But no, you don't want to expand the size of government. You don't want to throw more money into this down this wishing well.
It's a rat hole. And Trump looks at the big picture. They're saying 1 bill, 2 bills, 3 bills. Trump doesn't care if it's 50 bills. He just wants the results. And I think that's what we have to do. And my friend Andy Biggs and I, as I said, we're studying this thing, and he's got it all drawn out. And there may be a path forward, but just running up endless debt. And here's what they're going to do. Mark my words. They'll come to us and say, if you'll just get us through this time, the next time we'll fix it. It's always the next time. Well, let me tell you something, brother. The next time is right now. We're not going to advance the cause of this country by going into more debt. We're not going to borrow ourselves into prosperity. You're seeing the signs of a recession, if not a depression, on the edges. I know we're taking a victory lap with Trump right now. And I saw some guy's going to go speak at CPAC yesterday. I said, tell him to get off the dadgum victory lap and quit all this talk about, oh, we're there. We got a 3-person majority in the House. We have a flu season. No kidding. We'll be out of the majority. We could lose the majority if we don't count the numbers and allow them to come on the floor and could take over. Short-lived as that may be, but the reality is that's where we're at as a country. So I say we keep our word. We reduce the size of government, and you don't reduce the size of government by spending more money.
Senator Rand Paul last night said sticking the debt limit piece of this into the larger bill is going to kill this bill. Do you agree with that?
I'd say that's pretty accurate. That's pretty accurate. Like I said, we just can't continue down this path. I know there'll be arm twisting, and we're going to primary you. And I'd warn people that start that talk. 3-person majority is no way to start threatening members. And this conservative base that I represent, that's what brought us to the promised land. We are the base. We are the ones that when
Yes.
Trump was removed from office the last time that stood by President Trump. It's not
Yes.
these spend more money moderates. So I just think we need to remember that.
Well, they've tried to primary you a number of times in the threats against you and other members for standing strong on this. You set off alarm bells last week for sending a letter to Donald Trump calling attention to the fact that we're sending $40 million a week to the Taliban. Of course, here on this show, we talk all the time about how the United States was instrumental in the creation of these terrorist organizations, and we support them, we funnel money to them, we arm them. And Elon Musk retweeted your message about this, your letter, $40 million a week to the Taliban. He was sort of shocked that we're doing this. It's stunning. Has the president-elect responded to you on this point, and will we stop funding terrorists, do you think?
Yeah, oddly enough, we had a reporter ask him last week. Brian Glenn asked him. I believe he's on Real American News. He's on Real American News, and he asked the president about that. And Trump, of course, was aware of it and was alerted to it. But you got to realize, I passed that bill the last Congress in the House, and I couldn't get any senators to take it up. I get some intern to come over and talk to me about it. That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. And they need to be embarrassed over that. This is it's out of control. And it is 40 million that we know of,
Right.
of your tax dollars. Admitted to, you can go back and watch my videos on X. I asked Secretary of State Blinken about it. He said, no, they don't. And I said, well, what about this? And he said, well, it's just such a small percentage. A percentage of $1 trillion is still $1 billion. It's 40 million a week, and we can't get supplies to people in North Carolina and Upper East Tennessee, Georgia, Hawaii, and now it looks like California. They're going to do without. FEMA's a joke, but yet we can fund the Taliban. We can send over $200 billion to Ukraine. We can send $1 billion down to somewhere down in Brazil for the rainforest somewhere. We sponsor drag shows overseas, but we can't build a wall, but we can do all this other stuff. It's priorities, and it's sickening.
Well, of course, we're watching what's happening in California right now. It's been devastating. We saw President Biden fly in there yesterday, talk about his grandson, instead of talking about the fires, and announced, we heard from Secretary of State Lloyd Austin, or Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, that another $500 million has just been approved for Ukraine. So
Yep.
Estimates are in the billions of damage now in California, but we can continue to send money to Israel, another $8 billion to Israel, $500 million now to Ukraine. When is this going to stop? Do you think it'll stop under Trump?
I hope so, but here's what I'm afraid is going to happen. Remember Doge, they're talking about cutting $2 trillion from the debt. That's just 200 days. Every 100 days, we got $1 trillion. And that's great. I would love to see that. I'd love to see those permanent cuts in place. But you've got Republicans in the House. They're going to come at it with a conservative red meat deal. Hopefully some conservatives in the Senate come at us. But guess what? Those two things are not trying to make it. They don't align. And we'll blame it on the Senate. They'll blame it on the House. And then we'll be pushed up against the wall, pass another big omnibus spending spree. I mean, we can't even reduce the spending to the size of pre-COVID levels. Tell me one government program we've added since COVID that's made your life better or that we could live without. I mean, I can't tell you anything. So, and I'm in Congress. So I think America needs to wake up and stop with the victory lap and how much Doge is. When Doge gets to town, let me tell you, Doge is already in town. And they can't pass anything. They do not have the power. It's up to your congressmen and your senators. And we better wake up and we better start paying attention. The liberals are very good at at the short term. Conservatives, we elect a president, we get a 3-person majority in the House, we're folding up the tents. Now's the time we need to start piling on.
I'll get you out of here on this, Congressman, which is FEMA. Should everyone at FEMA be fired for gross incompetence?
Call me Tim, please.
It's hard for me to do that.
I know. Statistically, Congressman's some 85-year-old guy that ain't heard the gun go off. So,
Tim, you'll be the first congressman I call by his first name. That's for sure. But should FEMA be fired for gross incompetence? Should everyone there be cleaned out of there? I mean, I know what's going on in your state of Tennessee. I mean, my brother lives there. There's still there's people living in tents. I used to live in West Virginia. Through Appalachia. Just a disaster. Still in North Carolina. Maui, for crying out loud. Now FEMA's going to swoop in and really help the people of California too, I'm sure.
Yeah, not yes, but hell yes. They need to be dismantled. The money needs to go to groups like Samaritan's Purse. They're the model, and these other groups are too. But we've got, I feel like that they've, the foxes are watching the hen house. They're telling people up in my, I don't really, actually, I don't represent the areas. It's just east of me. But they're telling folks they can't get that $700 they were promised because they don't have any identification or, and they need to do it, download the whatever the app. They don't have a dadgum computer. They lost everything. They're lucky to get out of there with their clothes on, and no identification. And these chuck wagons up there staying in $400 a night motels, and then they're out in the Walmart parking lot with a trailer playing God. They need to be out on the unemployment line is where they need to be. These bureaucrats that run these things, we need to clean up that and just get it to these organizations. But we need some to make sure. I mean, these NGOs, they always start out good, and then just like the funding the Taliban, they probably started out as a good organization, but somebody figured out a way to scam it, and that's what's happened.
Now, the NGOs we've covered extensively on this show, leading purveyors of child sex trafficking in the United States, all helped and facilitated by the Department of Homeland Security and your friend Antony Blinken up there. So these NGOs are become very, very evil. I said I was going to get you out of here a second ago. I'd be remiss if I didn't. First time having you here, Tim, on the show on UFO disclosure. I asked Congresswoman Nancy Mace about this question a few weeks ago here on the show about would she support a select committee on UAPs, UFOs. So we have transparency on this. Would you support a select committee on this to get answers to the American people? Transparency?
I sure would if they had subpoena power. If you're just going to put some bogus committee up there, then it'd be waste of time. I've actually been working with the chairman to develop that. So I hope we'll have an announcement on that soon about how that's going forward. But I'd warn people, Schumer had about a 40 or 50 page bill that it was going to be on disclosure. The UFO community just jumped all over it. Thought that was the greatest thing in the world. I had one that was 2 pages. Schumer's mimicked or modeled, it was modeled, and they bragged about it after the Kennedy assassination files and release. As you will know, Kennedy was assassinated. John F. Kennedy was assassinated 60 years ago, and we still don't know what happened. And that's what they want to follow? I just said release them. I want total disclosure. And what they do, though, I warn people, they'll hide it behind national security, and they'll say if this affects national security, then we don't need to fool with it. And of course, that's what they do every time. They hide it behind national security, and then we're screwed, and we don't get it because they'll say everything. They'll say, "Oh, that USO that the Navy saw that's big as a football field that was going 200 miles an hour under the water. We can't report that because the sonar we used was a secret one, and we don't want the Chinese to know." Well, the Chinese showed us they sold us the dadgum componentry for that thing, or the same thing with a radar. We can't disclose this because they're new heat seeking. It's always a scam. They are arrogant. They will not disclose it for whatever reason. We can go into that another time, my theories on that. But there's a lot going on in that department, and we need some more disclosure. And the only way we're going to get it is if Donald J. Trump just says release the files.
Yeah, I would love to do a deep dive with you on this subject, so we'll have to schedule that at some point. Tim Burchett is also a congressman. He also happens to be a congressman. Great guy. One of the few voices on Capitol Hill that we can stand behind. Congressman, great to see you. Thank you so much for coming on the show for the first time. We appreciate it.
Brother, it is my pleasure. And please, y'all pray for our country. We need it.